Sarah Heintz, thank you so much for taking the time to do this quick podcast with me. I mean, you're an ad specialist, a marketing expert, and the agency owner of Digital Fox. Tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get into this marketing world, and what made you take the leap of, faith from being a marketer to starting your own agency?
Thanks for having me on your podcast, Bradley. So um I've always been very interested in human behavior, which led me to study psychology. And I moved to Cape Town. I applied my knowledge to different fields, such as with treatment. And due to my German language skills, I ended up in performance marketing. I was immediately drawn to that type of marketing because it's so dynamic as well as results driven. And what led me to start my own agency was that I realized I was very good at selling and I was able to sign up my own clients. And I'd also reached the ceiling in the agency I was working at. I've worked on big national brands such as Big and Pay, Luno, EXDA, and I really enjoyed that. And it's been creating both the content creation and graphic design to the paid marketing campaigns.
Oh man, everything. That's basically everything. And what would you say, what is your as an ad specialist, what is your go-to ad platform right now and why?
So I've been doing paid ads for 10 years now, and what I can tell you is they have evolved a lot. From the beginning times when you basically worked on a Meta back then Facebook ad account interface that was super static, it took forever to upload ads, to Google ads that just were so basic. They had one text line, one description line, and you always had to be very sparse with your copy. To now we're having fully integrated, fully automated AI-backed ad platforms. But up until today, I have to say that Google Ads is by far my favorite platform because of the multi-channel and omni-channel approach that Google has. It's Google Research, which is your high intent traffic. It's your Google Display, which is perfect to create awareness, as well as YouTube ads. As you know, you are on YouTube. YouTube is one of the most visited websites in the world. It exceeds Meta, it exceeds Instagram. There are billions of hits every single day. And what Google Ads makes it really powerful and impactful is how reliable their data is. So when you have a click from Google, it's actually a click that you will find in Google Analytics versus a click from Facebook. It's not necessarily that it's a click. And what it comes down to is obviously also the bottom line. So how easy it is to scale campaigns. And I find Google is the most reliable platform. So Meta can be really temperamental. Either it works or doesn't work. LinkedIn, it's expensive, it's hard to convert. But on Google, you can also make a cut with a small budget. You can, for example, boost your Google My Business listing, you get foot traffic, you get calls. You can have a dedicated search campaign just targeting your competitors, and none of the other platforms allows for that, what Google does. I'm also a huge fan of Performance Max campaigns.
Okay.
So those have automated ad units. And if you feed them the right audience signals and you do the right kind of A/B testing, they basically run themselves.
Man, that's so interesting because firstly I didn't know YouTube was, had the most eyes. And I know with Google, you can set up a demand gen campaign. And I hear a lot about people receiving a lot of spam through Google and moving towards this demand gen route. Would you say that is still a good route when it comes to service based businesses, or would you rather move to the performance max direction?
So when it comes to to service-based businesses, I'm actually quite conservative. I believe in a exact keyword strategy. And on the Performance Max side, I would ensure to add the right audience signals. And then in regards to demand gen, I think it's still in its infancy, and it does work for brands that have it patches. It's similar to Performance Max. So we working with e-commerce brands overseas, such as the States and what we can see, their return on ad spend is rock solid. The 10, 15x performs really stable. It's because the customer and the audience, they have income to spend on goods.
Mm.
And here in South Africa, it's really tricky to have successful e-com campaigns that also performing successfully when you're scaling, because unfortunately, the consumer market is not as strong as in other regions. And demand gen is at the moment being sold and advertised us by our Google Reds. They are kind of pushing it onto us. And similar to Performance Max, I think it took a while to get it working properly. So I do think demand gen will do great things, but for now I stick mostly to Google Search and Performance Max.
Interesting. And what metrics would you say actually matter when analyzing these campaign performances?
So when it comes to metrics, I always look at the unit economics of our clients. So what is the gross profit? What's the net profit of a client? How much actual cash does a client make on selling a product or offering a service? Because we need to understand first to also determine our budget and to determine what is a successful campaign. For some of our clients, a 10x ROAS is a given. For others, this is the North Star. This is what they want to achieve. So as you can see, I look at return on ad spend. For our e-commerce clients, we're obviously tracking revenue. Another interesting one is your impression share. You can lose impression share, for example, if you're not spending enough or if your landing page is not optimized. So always ensure that for our clients, you have a sufficient high sorry, I lost the word. Yeah, but so for our clients, always ensure that we have the top impression share above 80%.
Oh, okay.
And then other metrics are like your good old click-through rate. So that is the relevancy. And I also look if the cost per click is not as important, but I also look at the target cost per acquisition. For a lot of advertisers, they want to keep the cost per acquisition stable. But what I'm asking myself is, what is the baseline of the client? If the client's only getting 10 leads a month and they're all high value leads, then that is obviously what we benchmark the client against. So each marketer should benchmark their clients against their own KPIs of the previous month and most importantly, year on year.
Yeah.
So if you see a year growth, that will show you that your campaigns are working.
Yeah, definitely. And Sarah, I'm so interested. So you've been this marketing expert and this ad specialist doing it all by yourself. And you mentioned you realized that you became good at sales. So at what point did you know it was time to scale your agency?
So that's a very interesting question. I think when I realized that I was good enough to deliver the service end to end, that I had good conscience to selling it to clients, I think you just have to have the leap of faith when you start. Well, I started a family of friends with my immediate network, and I'm happy and proud to say that some of these businesses are still my clients up until today, more than 5 years later.
Wow.
And I think because I studied psychology, it's what is the value that you generate and it's helping others. So as a marketer, you help businesses to succeed. So you're taking an investment and you invest it in real estate. That is only a certain amount that your investment grows. If you invest it in marketing, it's a 10x return. I mean, which investment gives you 10x return? That is not that many investments. And what I specifically like working in digital marketing is not just how fast-paced the industry is, but of how many different personalities you get to work with, the in-depth knowledge that you gain, about their services and products. And I think from that point of view, it's a really rewarding industry to be part of.
Yeah, definitely. I've never actually looked at it from that angle because you're right. It is the only form that can give you a 10x return. That is so interesting. And tell me, how do you keep up with everything? How do you keep up with the constant platform updates? Because I know like Meta and Google is, ever changing algorithms.
So we obviously we're in a fortunate position that we not just advertising locally but overseas. So from that point of view, we often get exposed to trends first, and we're also a Google partner, which means we have dedicated support, which sets up time to take us through any of the changes. We have dedicated Meta support. Also, on Meta, you can now find a Facebook group where you have dedicated support and you get to hear about new features. I signed up to webinars. There's a global Google announcement. There's announcement from Meta. There's the Meta, there's blog posts and forums. Find me a lot on Reddit. I love browsing on Reddit and just reading up about very niche topics. And then it's extreme other marketers. So I closely collaborate with other agency owners, and we support and help each other. And yeah, as they say at the top, we don't compete, we collaborate.
Yes.
And then it's also just buying us in different knowledge. So we only work with fee based on freelancers that they are. And then from our side, we test a free team member that's working for us. So we have assessment managers, and then we test everyone's knowledge, because especially in the paid media space, you get anything from someone who can just boost the post to an absolute PPC genius that has custom coding and sets up their own dashboards to put out web tracking. Or yeah, the sky's the limit. And yeah, I mean, also another topic is AI. So I have a close eye on when ChatGPT ads will be available. I think it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
We tested some AI tools to do some bid optimization with new results. We used a software from Japan, and that has been not ideal for us. The thing is, because some of our clients are on the smaller side of budgets, that we continuously looking at different tools we can use to make our lives easier and obviously get the best performance for our client.
Yeah, definitely. At the end of the day, if your clients are winning, then you are winning. And it sounds like you really know what you're doing if your clients are staying with you for such a long time. And tell me, what were the first key hires you made in your agency and why?
I think in the beginning stages of a business, you hire more people like yourself. So initially, we only had a media specialist, and we also kind of started middle of COVID. So the agency was very small. It was between 2 and 4 people. And then we went through a rapid scale. We scaled to 12 people within a year. And in hindsight, I can say it was maybe a bit too fast, a bit too premature. And later, at the later stages, you're now working on departments. So the success of your business is totally dependent from your leadership team. So we have 3 departments in our business: web development, social media, and paid media. And now we're adding on the supported structures such as finance, sales, so that not everything is up to me. I'm not wearing all the hats.
Yeah.
But as I say, I still get very, very excited about paid media strategy. I'm so closely involved in the day-to-day, not just of the paid media, but also the social media team, to not lose touch of operations and our clients.
Yeah.
But I'd say the first hire that one should do or have is someone who has a different skill set and someone who enjoys different type of work. So someone who's, for example, detail orientated, and someone who follows through with tasks like admin and legal and finance. I think that is someone I should have had in my business a bit earlier. And then I think also having someone who's really good at sales, someone who's bringing it in whole new business, I think that's highly valuable.
Yeah.
And it lasts. having your operations under control is also essential, especially as you're scaling.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. And tell me something, how do you deal with clients who don't understand the ad space or have these unrealistic expectations?
I think it's it's most of all, it's not the client's fault. Like and not ideal client for me could be a dream client for someone else. Understanding that as a business, not everyone's your client, and you should not work with everyone. I found the times when we went above and beyond to impress the client, and we try to make smaller budgets work. It's still required. The client still let us, is still unhappy. I should actually said, your budget's too small. Don't try paid ads. It won't work. Maybe get a freelancer. I'll just boost some posts. But you need to have the buy-in for at least 12 months in the time. And that's giving us enough time to work ads fully optimized, functioning campaigns. And then it's, yeah, um, aligning on the expectations and understanding the client's revenue model.
Yeah.
So maybe the client doesn't make any money if the return is 2x. Maybe the client doesn't even make any money if the return is 5x. Or one needs to be more listings before.
Yeah, very true, very true. What a great answer. And on that topic of, budget allocation, how do you decide the budget allocation across, different platforms when you're running ads for your clients?
That's obviously that's our secret sauce, and that is having run campaigns for more than 10 years. And it's having those first-hand insights from cross-industry clients and their campaigns. The good start is using the tools available. You can use Google Search Console to pick up on how the client's website is ranking, how is it indexed, how is that traffic performing. Google Analytics is also a great place to see which sites are doing well, where's the traffic coming from, and then using the Google Keyword Planner tool. You can also use additional tools such as Ubersuggest, SEMrush. You can ask ChatGPT. You can put in ChatGPT as the client's website, analyze their 5 competitors, how much to spend, and then put your thinking hat on and decide if that is the right answer. And what we usually do is we look at it for the budget and divide it by the amount of days in a month, and then divide it by the campaigns that we would love to run for the client. And we see on a per campaign, per paylet, is this a budget that does make sense or not? And then I rather say, let's not be everywhere. Let's not try to run 3, 4 platforms onto one. Make that platform work for you, and then you can always build on. Or you, for example, say, Meta, we just have a remarketing campaign, or we use Meta for creating awareness, and then we remarket with Google. On Meta, we can also estimate if you have the correct budgets through the frequency. So if it's getting too much, then you have a frequency of 8, 10, or if you're never targeting that for ideal. Those are all measures that help us to determine budgets. And obviously, the cloud will KPIs. If clients want to reach X, we reverse engineer how much they should spend.
Interesting. Okay. I don't want you to give away all your secret sauce, Sarah. But what is, lastly, diving into strategy and budget, what is one underrated strategy or ad type you are currently seeing that is working right now?
That's a very good question. I'm a huge fan of using Meta lead form ads to drive customer signups. So even if you're running a e-commerce campaign, I love to see our clients' database grow. I love to have a predictable measure, getting the clients more email signups every month. And then you can obviously market to that audience through your newsletter, your automations, you can send an SMS. So what we often have is a very enticing email sign up campaign. That is our always on campaign that always runs. And then the second one is probably the good old competitor search campaign. Because someone is looking for your competitor, they're far down in the funnel of the decision making process. And from that point of view, even if that campaign does not convert, that high, you have the right kind of eyes to see your ad.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And my second last question for today, Sarah, what is the most valuable lesson you've learned as an entrepreneur and a business owner?
It's the one thing, it's focus. It's having focus in our daily tasks. It's being able to say no because they can't be everywhere all the time. And I think that is something that I still struggle until today. I think every entrepreneur, we kind of borderline ADHD, monitor it all, and we're highly optimistic. We believe in what we do, we believe in others, we believe in our clients. So that optimistic mindset is really, really helpful. And that combined with a strong vision and the necessary grit, that really gets you far. But also it's the journey that is part of the fun. So there's no point in having a business, enjoying yourself and having no work-life balance. So I see this as a marathon, not a sprint. And I see my business looking at the next 10, 15, 20 years. So it's not something that I scale it with exit, which is difficult anyway in a service-based industry.
Yeah.
But focus, vision, and grit. I think those are the key ingredients that make a happier and successful entrepreneur.
Definitely. I love that. I love that. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and having discipline 100%. And my last question for you, Sarah, is more of a statement than a question, is to let the people know what you currently have got going on.
Sure. So we, as a business, we are a performance marketing agency based in Cape Town with a, premises in Berlin as well. And what we looking at the moment is the AI automation, which in everything that we do. So we've been working really, really hard on that. We're also currently looking at our own brand. So we dedicate time and energy in differentiating ourselves and positioning ourselves in the market. And then for the rest, we got some really interesting strategies and projects in the pipeline where we're helping our clients to have the right social media strategies, the right PPC strategies, and it's just amazing to see that unfolded coming to life.
Oh, definitely. Well, listen, Sarah, thank you for all the valuable insight that you have given us today. And all of this sounds very exciting. Good luck with your future ventures lying ahead. And thank you so much for joining this podcast.
Thanks so much, Curtly. It's been such a pleasure.